we're doing a comparison of two different properties to work out what the true value is, and if you're an investor right now in the commercial market, what you should be investing in. So I'm out here in Berwick, seeing a property here. It is a 10-year lease to a medical allied health. So this is a pharmacy, and this will be a medical center in the future. So it's on a 10-year lease that incorporates this whole premise here. It's just been divided up into two, and this is a newly developed area. And this is going to auction tomorrow with Burgess Rawson. Now, one of the big things that why I'm here is that we're doing a comparison of two different properties to work out what the true value is, and if you're an investor right now in the commercial market, what you should be investing in. So let's go in and have a look at the inside, but more importantly, let's go and have a look at the outside and what it has. Right, so we've got IGA here. It's a new IGA supermarket. We've got bellbirds up the top of their education childcare centre. So this is really interesting because we're seeing in this area, there's lots of new developments of houses, smaller houses, lots of house and land packages being developed as well. But we are seeing childcare no longer on the ground floor, but upstairs with open areas and, of course, indoor facilities as well. So as we walk through this complex, it's really, really new. You can see that we've got houses developed all at the back. We've got there's going to be new developments of a commercial strip. And as we walk through, let's have a look at what else is here. Now, when we're looking at an investment, one of the big things that is really important is to see what is it now today, but what is it likely to be 3, 5, 10 years from now? So let's have a look and see. So we've got a new cafe coming up here. Now, I'm not sure what it is right now, but it is definitely leased. We've got a cafe here already that's probably under at the moment renovations. It's going to be doing its fit out. And we've got a new development which will probably be most likely commercial with upstairs and downstairs. However, we're seeing vacancies quite a lot around here. As we walk down, you can see that we've got vacancies on this side, which could be anything that's allied health related or hair or anything else. And even though this is leased, we don't know what the tenant will be. So it's very hard when you're working around looking at properties, when you're trying to understand whether this is really worth you paying $3.6 million for that property. Now, that's the asking price, about roughly around $3.6 million, whether it's worth paying that now. Are you actually going to get the value of that right now as you're going through? Because this area is still probably 5 to 7 years before it becomes really populated. It's probably about 3 to 5 years before we even get critical mass, 5 to 7 years before you get your capital gains. Is it worth for you to right now invest in this area? So there's a laundromat. There's a big laundromat here, which is open from 6 a.m. till 1 a.m. in the morning. Like big laundromat here, which is quite unusual for an area that's developing. But as we see, we've got little houses here. So they're very small blocks. So these houses here are probably about 200 to 300 square meters of houses, and they're 2 stories, and you get your 3 bedrooms around here as well. So we've got developments across there for dental, but these businesses are literally not making any money, and probably not going to make any money for the next 3 years until this area gentrifies. All right, so we're outside Sonic Health. Here is Dandenong South, and the reason we've come here as a direct comparison to Berwick is because Berwick is a newly established area on the fringes, and it's about 21 minutes drive to here, so it's not that far away from Melbourne Central. But the thing is, it's a newly developed area that's probably going to take 3 to 5 years to gentrify. Now, we're in Dandenong South, where its biggest claim to fame is actually the Amazon warehouse, right? Followed by a lot of other like-minded tenants, right? So now, since that Amazon's come in here about 6, 7 years ago, this whole area has been transformed, and it's basically heavily industrial area, but also moving to industrial retail. So as we walk around here, we will get to see that Sonic Health is a global tenant. And one of the things that's rare about this is that it's a 5-year triple net lease, which means the tenant absolutely pays for everything, which is very, very rare in this market. So let's have a walk around and have a look. So behind here, we've got our traditional tilt slab warehouse. These are small warehouses. When you see things like this and you see the drive-through here, And this is the first sign to see that the area have gentrified, the rents have gone up, and tenants who are renting this property will probably pay at least $50 to $100 a square meter higher than a tenant paying a giant warehouse over there, right? So a tenant might be paying, say, $150 a square meter. Over here, they'll probably be paying somewhere around $250, maybe even $270 a square meter, depending on what is part of that, where they get a little office space plus retail. But let's have a look around here. One of the things you notice with inspections is you see a very, very dense parking area. So lots and lots of people park here. There's literally no parking spaces. Now, one of the things about consideration or comparison properties is value for money. What you get rate per square meter, what you get in rent, but the future potential. In a much gentrified area, the only way to go up is obviously in terms of value, but coming from rents, but also land as well, because there's no place it can be outbuilt. So the place, Sonic Health, has 200 square meters of actual space for one of the tenancies, and then 400, so 600 square meters. So compared to Berwick, we're doubling our size as well, right? Here we've got an accounting firm next door, and we've got one vacancy here, which will be filled shortly. We've got a cafe, we've got labor force here. It is a business park in all essence, but a retail style business park. Across the road, we see some really big brand names like Total Tools, Dulux, right? And these are good signs to show you that this area has really got solid tenancies that are tenants that will be here for the long term. And what that means to you as an investor is that if the tenant was to ever become vacant, it's so much easier to tenant because there's so little vacancies in the area, and there'll be even less vacancies as time goes on, right? We've just been to this cafe, has a coffee shop, has a food bar, and then there is more of that business park, that retail business park out there. So when we're considering one property versus the other property, what we're really considering is, firstly, is it value for money? Is it the same returns? Because if you're getting the same returns from one area versus the other, you will prefer a much more gentrified area versus an area that still takes 3 to 5 years to gentrify, because a gentrified area will give you capital growth immediately. So you could get the best of both worlds. You get some cash flow plus growth as well. So we're about to see little warehouses there, and they're still related warehouses, but they're more business to consumer, right? And we've got office spaces above now, and we have retail spaces, but they're all business driven, right? Now we've got some different types of food here. We've got the Middle Eastern street food and cafes. So it's really now we're starting to see this area change. So Dandenong South has changed a hell of a lot, and eventually Berwick will be like that. But it will take them potentially 10 years to be as dense in terms of population and demand as we are seeing here now. So if I was to look at both these properties, one of my picks will be to choose a Dandenong South, this property, Sonic Health, versus the Berwick, because of how this area has gentrified. And for the same returns, the Berwick Cafe, they're asking 5.5% yield. This one, they're quoting 6%. The difference is about $500,000 in purchase price. Now, as a difference in terms of a deposit, is that if you're putting in 35% and you're using a lease stock loan, then you're putting in somewhere, the difference is probably about $200K in terms of deposit. But if you could stretch yourself to $200K, you're going to see compounding rewards in both cash flow and growth as well.